You give out raisins on Halloween, you are taking away children's dreams right there. They dream of that one night that you just go up to strangers and take the candy they offer. And then you do this to them? How dare you? Hello viewers, it's me, Ghostface again, bringing you another Tier Up ranking video. And today, we are going to be ranking the tasty, delicious candies that you would find on Halloween night that strangers would give you at their home. And what do you know? That's the only day out of the year we tell children to do the exact opposite of what we tell them to do every single other day of the year. Never take candy from strangers. But this day we encourage it. Who cares? Let's get in! And these are the rankings for this video. God tier, Sugar Rush, Sweet, Is This a Trick? And Cancelled. And I know the title of this video is Halloween Candies, and some of these are chocolates, which, for the sake of this video, I'm gonna put them all under the same umbrella. Which, I know they're not. I know they're not all candy. Chocolate and candy are two separate things. But who cares? We're starting this off with the sourness of Airheads. And I will admit, some of these candies I haven't exactly had them in my life, but I know enough about them to make a fair judgment. And you know what? It's my judgment anyway. My judgment's the only one that matters in this video. And I mean, I'm not a fan of sour candy. Like, not at all, really. Like, to me, a candy should be sweet and savory, not make you go, this tastes like lemons, it gives me the same effect as lemons. It shouldn't do that. So I'm sorry, Airheads, but you're kind of a canceled candy for me. And if you have a problem with me, take it off with my little friend. Next up, we have a sort of a caramel chocolate type thing. Butterfingers. Do they actually have butter in these? I don't know. I mean, Butterfingers, like the name itself, it would make you think it's tasty, but the actual candy, I'm not so sure. Because again, Butterfingers is one of the ones that I haven't exactly had, so I'm not so sure. From what I can tell from this picture, it's sort of a chocolatey coating with a bit of a caramel filling inside, if you could call it that. I'm not exactly a big fan of those type of candies either, where it has those conflicting textures of hardness and, I don't know, liquidy sort of thing. I don't know why. It just doesn't sit right with me. But at the same time, I'd take them over Airheads any day. And like, there are definitely worse candies out there. Probably this next one, which we're moving on to a, for some reason, classic icon of Halloween candy. We're going to candy corn. Why is candy corn a thing? Why does it exist? It should not exist. It is an abomination. It is an abomination to candy kind everywhere. You want to know how candy corn tastes? It tastes like wax. And that's coming from a guy whose face looks like it's melting wax. We should have canceled candy corn a long time ago. So you know what? I'll do it right now. Yeah, next up, we have a very tasty treat coming up right now. We have Hershey's Kisses. Oh my god, Hershey's is such a delicious chocolate. If you think Hershey's is not good, my blade will be waiting for you. I can taste you already. Okay, that sounds very creepy. But honestly, I would cover my blade in Hershey's syrup and... Hershey's. Okay, I'm actually starting to freak myself out. I mean, Hershey's is good, but it's not that kind of psychotic kind of good. Still, Hershey's Kisses is the perfect treat. The perfect chocolatey treat, no matter what time of day it is. Hershey's, it makes you feel loved. It makes you feel at home. Even the name, Hershey's Kisses. It makes you feel loved when no one else will. For giving me a feeling no one else will ever give me. Hershey's Kisses, I consider you God tier. Do not fail me this year. Next up on the candies, we have Jolly Ranchers. Jolly Ranchers, I think these are sort of like, these are closer to like fruity type candies. I'm trying to figure out a good word for it. Maybe picture a lollipop without the stick, and maybe this is sort of what you would get. I'm not too sure. Although I will say, some Jolly Ranchers are tastier than others. But as a whole, I think I would kind of put them midway. Yeah, midway sounds about right. There are too many flavors, some that make it good, some that make it bad. It kind of evens itself out. Next up, we have one that gives me a lot of questions, and it's Kit Kats. It's a sort of a chocolatey treat that covers 2 wafers within. Is it 1 or 2? I forget if it's 1 or 2. I think it's 1. Maybe it's 2. I don't know. Useless questions. But this is a question that I know people have a lot of controversy about. Is a wafer a cookie? Leave your answers in the comments below. But for now, about Kit Kats. I've had a few Kit Kats in my lifetime. I'm not going to say they're my go-to type of candy. But, in terms of textures, this is one I would rather take over Butterfingers. Because it's crunchy and crunchy. Not crunchy then gooey. Gooey was the word I was looking for. How'd I forget that word? But for Kit Kats, I would definitely take them over Jolly Ranchers. But nowhere near as much as Hershey Kisses. They'll give me a little bit of a sugar rush. Next up, we have these tiny little candies of goodness. Next up, we have M&M's. And I know, I just called them candies. When they're not candies, they are chocolates. That kept the artist M&M from trademarking M&M. Because, M&M, his real name, Marshall Mathers, he wanted to trademark M&M, but because of the candy, he couldn't. So he had to actually spell it out M&M. We're going off on a useless tangent right now. And in the last couple years, I actually learned that M&M's are actually made from Mars chocolate. I never knew that. Which actually, thinking about, makes a lot of sense. Because M&M's, Mars chocolate. I'm actually so many levels of dumb. But still, these tiny little candies of Mars chocolate. I don't know why I prefer them more than the actual bars of Mars chocolate. Probably the same way I prefer the Hershey Kisses over to actual Hershey bars. It's like a tinier package gives you more to behold for some reason. Do I understand it? Not at all. But still, M&M's are great. Chocolates are great. M&M's, one place you deserve to go. You are a god tier treat, M&M's. Very similar to M&M's, but I probably wouldn't eat. Milk Duds. Milk Duds, like the name probably suggests, I believe they're milk chocolate. But for some reason, Milk Duds never had the same effect on me that M&M's and Hershey Kisses do. They never really reeled me in. They never left me wanting more. Do I understand why? Not at all. Because why should I understand anything about food? Do I look like someone who gives a shit about what goes in their body? I mean, I give a shit about what comes out of people's bodies. I'm sorry, you just don't do it for me. But you're not canceled yet. Next up, we have a Milky Way candy bar. Milky Way. Also, you could probably presume by the name, it's milk chocolate. And named after the freaking galaxy. I just realized there's lots of types of candies that are named after things in space. Mars bar, Milky Way. And I think those are actually the only goddamn ones. Milky Way, very similar to the Butterfinger. It just did not work for me. It just doesn't work for me. Sorry, Milky Way. You go bye-bye. Bye-bye. But you're not cancelable yet. Next up, we have a candy named Nerds. And I believe these candies are only eaten by nerds. That's why I will never eat any, because I'm not a nerd. Despite the fact that I'm dressed up like this. Still not a nerd. Only nerds eat nerds. And I am not a nerd. I refuse to be. Oh, if you give this out on Halloween, you are straight evil. And that's coming from me, someone who's murdered a lot of people. If you do this, you are evil. If you give out raisins on Halloween, you are a psychopath. and I'm a sociopathic murderer. And I would never do something so horrid. You give out raisins on Halloween, you are taking away children's dreams right there. They dream of that one night that you just go up to strangers and take the candy they offer. And then you do this to them? How dare you? You are the lowest of low, and the lowest of low deserve the lowest spot. You are canceled, people! Okay. I'm calm now. Back on track. Next up, we have Reese's Cups. Again, Reese's Cups. These I think are okay. I'm not a big fan of them. I'm not a big fan of peanut butter, so. But, this one has me conflicted. Like, Reese's Cups are pretty much like the only way I'll actually eat peanut butter. But it's also the texture that's a bit iffy to me as well. So, you know what? I actually think I'm going to put it midway. Because I actually can't decide on this one. Alright, next up, we have freaking Skittles. The far superior... No. Alright, next up we have Skittles. The far inferior version to M&M's. Skittles, well, I know Skittles aren't chocolate, but they are a blatant just insult to M&M's. For starters, there aren't any blue Skittles. There are blue M&M's. Why don't you have blue Skittles? Why? Because you're inferior. Skittles is more like a candy. And therefore, it's much more sugary. Instead of chocolate M&M's, which are more cocoa-y. I don't exactly know. The point is, Skittles are not as good as M&M's. And they never will be. Next up, I don't know why people don't like this, but next up we have Smarties. Like, I looked this up. Apparently, it's in one of the top 10 worst Halloween candies in the world or the US. I forget which one. But, yo, how can you not like Smarties? I love Smarties. I freaking grew up with Smarties. Whenever I would win enough tickets at Chuck E. Cheese, if I could get them, I would get goddamn Smarties at the prize counter. Why? Because I was too bad to get anything off of the wall. I guess people don't like it because of the very, maybe, chalky sort of texture. And that sugariness just hits you like a bullet. But still. Smarties for life! Next up we have a Snickers bar. I said Snickers. Do not take that out of context. I know this mask doesn't make me speak too clearly. But do not take that out of goddamn context. Snickers, again, is sort of reminding me of those other chocolates. Like, is this a trick? But we need to put more in Sweet and Sugar Rush. And Snickers, it's not as good, but I'll put it in Sweet. I need to even the list out a little bit more. Next up, we have Sour Patch Kids. And like the name suggests, they're sour. And did I say I like sour candies? No, I do not. Sour candies are not as good. And where do candies that are not as good go? They're because I believe they're a trick. Next up we have Starburst. Starburst are a bit better. They sort of feel a little gummy. They're not sour. They taste a good bit fruity. They are much better than most of the candies that are in the bottom two. And honestly, dare I say, worthy of giving me a sugar rush right now. Next up, we have Tootsie Rolls. And like, everyone knows that commercial, like, hey, Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? Let's find out. 1, 2... And that's basically a pop version of this. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. They are quite mediocre. They're not that bad, but they're kind of mediocre. Next up, we have Twix. Left Twix, right Twix. Who cares? Twix are Twix. I don't believe there's any difference between the two Twix. And the fact that such a big stupid thing had to be made about Twix, it's stupid. Plus, again, like most of those other candies, I don't know why, but Twix are just a little bit better. I don't understand what it is, but ever so slightly better. And lastly, over here, we got some Twizzlers. These are probably the closest thing to licorice we're probably gonna get. Twizzlers, strawberry flavored. They're slightly squishy, but I'm gonna be honest, I like them. However, I like them. They're not exactly God tier worthy, though. They belong maybe one step below. And a sugar rush. And believe me, if you have enough of them, they will give you a sugar rush. And I think this is where we are going to have to leave it. I have been Ghostface. And this has been ranking the tasty treats that you would get on Halloween. Bye, everybody.